Good evening and welcome to all of you who are present here for our public hearing on our budget, and to those people who are at home watching. I'll call our meeting to order and we'll have our roll call. And we will now do our invocation and pledge, Mr. Garris and Dr. Johnson.
Let's stand while we pray, please. Father, we thank you this evening for your many blessings upon us. We thank you once again for the opportunity of assembling together as a community. Father, we thank you for each one that is here with us, especially those in our audience this evening. We thank you for their interest in county government. We pray that you might bless this board as we deliberate the issues this evening. Give us the wisdom and the discernment to make those decisions that would glorify you and be the best for the citizens that we represent. These blessings we pray in your holy name. Amen.
Let us face the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please. Okay, our next item, or our first item, is our presentation from our manager of an overview of the 12-13 proposed budget.
Okay,
Are
Madam
you
Chairman,
moving
I'll go
down?
downstairs.
That will be
Down.
fine.
Okay.
Down.
Podium.
No, you can't go downstairs.
Be leaving us. Downstairs to the podium. I'm here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good evening. Tonight I am before you to present the proposed fiscal year 2012-2013 proposed budget for Pitt County government. And before you, you've got a series of documents. First, you've got a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that will be viewed on the screen for the viewing audience, both here in the room and on TV. Also, you've got a copy of the budget message, which is the formal written document that presents the budget as it stands as of this date. Also, you've got a copy of the proposed budget ordinance, which is the legal document that actually puts into play the ordinance in terms of adopting the appropriating revenues and expenditures for the new fiscal year. That can be modified if so directed by the board, but you have those documents. Tonight, I'm going to run through this PowerPoint presentation. I'm not going to read every screen because a lot of these are repeats from my preliminary budget message to you back on May the 22nd. But your adopted priorities, you have a number of priorities: education, number 1; community safety, 2; then on down the list, economic development, health and welfare, facility and space needs, infrastructure improvements, and recreational activities. It's among these priorities that staff and myself have designed the budget, as we try to every year, in terms of allocating the resources that we have for the county's services. On the next slide, look at the budget development process in terms of what was taken into consideration, different factors for next fiscal year. Again, based upon your priorities, based upon the concept of structural balance, trying to create a new structural balance or a new baseline for the organization. The impact of the revaluation that Pitt County has just put into place for January 1st, 2012. Also, the continued limited economic growth in the economy. And then the last factor being the impact from the ad valorem collection rate from the prior year. Also, in terms of the budget process, it looked at the further contraction of services of programs based upon the concept of right-sizing across-the-board expenditure reductions, both to internal agencies and departments of county government as well as external. We reduced the overall head count. We have does not include any new or expanded services or programs, and the next year's budget at this point does not include any money for capital spending, whether that be vehicles or buildings as such. In terms of budget drivers, primary budget drivers, the fund balance appropriation that we've used in the past, close to $4 million, that's been cut in half to $2 million. We have a continued suppression on our investment earnings due to the market and the rates that we're earning. We have a decrease in the tax base due to the reval and the base decreasing approximately 5%. We have an expectation for minimal growth in our sales tax revenues. Our fees, sales, and services revenues are still impacted by the limited growth in the economy. And then we have the uncontrollable expenses such as fuel, even though today fuel is coming down, but in other vendor purchased items. Also, we have the budget driver that we have to recognize that we have a continued elevated demand for services. As we always point out, county government being one major function being human service delivery, when the economy goes south into a recession, our services are countercyclical, the demand for services go up, and even in public safety you see that as well. And the last budget driver was our need to review the fees and try to ensure that we obtain the concept of cost recovery, that we are actually recovering the cost of providing the service to the public in some select fees. Next slide gives you the proposed budget for next year for all funds. That's the grand total of the $202,376,910 budget for Pitt County government. Compared to a year ago, the adopted budget was $207,873,196. This represents a change or a net decrease of 2.64%. Within the general fund, which I always try to describe as the fund that affects the setting of the ad valorem tax rate, you can see that the original department requests were $106,517,078. The reductions that I've taken was $1,993,763. My preliminary proposed budget to you was $104,523,315. In terms of balancing that with revenues, we had the $2 million appropriation of fund balance, which we do not expect to use, but is what we call the fund balance plug that we expect to fall back due to the under expenditure of budgets or due to lag in salaries due to positions being vacated and then the time it takes to fill positions, and also the setting of a tax rate within the general fund of 0.6730 cents. It's actually will equate to a 68-cent tax rate, but a portion of that goes to the industrial development budget. So for the current year, 11-12, the adopted budget was $107,366,729. The overall net effect or change within the general fund budget, it decreased by 2.65%. And when you compound this upon the prior years where it's decreased as well, it's decreased a good deal over the years. Okay, on the next slide, in terms of the proposed budget, I was pointing out that the rate is proposed to be 68 cents, which is slightly under the revenue neutral rate of 68.05. 68.05 is technically, as you calculate it, the revenue neutral rate. The current rate today is 66.5 cents, so in effect we're talking about a 1.5 cent rate adjustment due to the impact on a revaluation. In terms of a revenue neutral versus a rate neutral budget, again, proposed rate at 68 cents, 1.5 cent rate adjustment. Need to keep in mind that this budget has also taken into account $2.5 million in expenditure reductions within all the departments, which equates to about 2.5% roughly of expenditures. This is achieved through elimination of vacancies. It's achieved through the elimination of positions through the early retirement incentive program, which, as illustrated in yesterday's meeting, we're saving $800,000 in real hard dollars in the fiscal year 12-13 budget and close to $900,000 the following year. And this money will replicate itself year to year to year, assuming that those positions are not refilled, and this budget does not refill the positions associated with those dollars. This budget also creates a new base level organization for Pitt County government. On the next slide, as illustrated in the budget workshops, this gives you an illustration of the effect of revaluation on residential property. I realize that there's more than just residential property that is that goes through revaluation. You have industrial, commercial, farmland, institutional, and so forth. But for a residential illustration, the first column there shows you that 55% on average of all the residential property in Pitt County will see a decrease in their value due to the market conditions over the past 4 years that reval has covered. And if you took a $100,000 house in the current fiscal year, that would equate to a $665 tax bill based upon a 66.5-cent tax rate. If the tax rate was adjusted upward to 68 cents flat, that house now becomes a $95,000 house because it's been decreased in value, again, on average of 5%. So the tax bill would be $646, which would be a reduction of $19 a year or $1.58 per month. The middle column there showing that 30% of residential properties increased in value. Again, if you have that $100,000 house, today the tax bill is $665. Theoretically, under the proposed budget, if that theoretical house went up 5% to $105, the tax bill would increase to $714, which is $49 a year or $4.08 per month. Last column illustrates that 15% of the properties, residential properties in Pitt County, remain flat. There was no change in the value. $100,000 house prior to revaluation is still worth $100,000 in value after revaluation. The tax bill, $665 prior to, and then proposed at $680, would be a $15 increase per year or $1.25 per month. And again, obviously, not all properties, residential properties, are worth $100,000. Some are worth less, more, as such, but this is just for illustration purposes. In terms of a revenue-neutral budget based upon a 68-cent tax rate, the position control is meaning the number of positions that we've eliminated within our organization to achieve this budget. We've eliminated 29.6 vacant full-time equivalent positions. These are positions within various departments of Pitt County government. We've eliminated 14.2 full-time equivalent positions through the ERIP program, the Early Retirement Incentive Plan. And we actually had 31 people who opted for the early retirement plan. And as we had indicated to the board, it wasn't realistic that we could eliminate 100% of those, but our original target was probably to backfill half of those, and that's about where we're at. So the total elimination of positions in this budget is 438.8, and that's out of currently about, I'm going to say about 950 plus positions within the organization. Over the last 3 years, we've eliminated almost 88 positions over the last 3 years. The concept of cost recovery in terms of a fee analysis alluded that we want to make sure that some of the services we provide, that we actually recover the cost of those services, and that we try to limit the general fund, again, that control fund that pretty much dictates what the ad valorem tax rate will be based upon the expenditures and the revenues within that general fund or control fund. We try to limit the subsidy of general fund dollars to certain services. We did a comparison of fees against Pitt County to what we call our comparable counties, and notice we had a number of our fees that were out of line with those comparable counties or even those counties within close proximity to Pitt County. Some services we feel that should operate as an enterprise fund, such as solid waste. Solid waste, basically every dollar they bring in, every dollar they spend is based upon that fund operating by itself and breaking even or making enough to maybe a slight profit to pay for capital expenses, like we just replaced the compactor at the transfer station. So we want to kind of try to look at county government from a business mindset, business model, and just like we do with solid waste and the EMS transportation service. In terms of proposed fee changes, looking at 3 different areas: the animal shelter, inspections, and permitting area, and then lastly within solid waste. Within the animal shelter, we're looking at a $10 fee increase for the adoption fees for cats and dogs, and ranges on the table, as you can see here. We covered this in the budget workshop. At just one example, cats under 4 months going from $55 to $65. The rationale behind that is we're now implementing, or we're installing the microchips within the animals so they can be located if they're lost, or if somebody brings a chip in and we can tell who the animal belongs to because of the microchipping. Next, within inspections and permitting, which is probably the most major area that we see fee increases in terms of the percentage increase, we found that our building permit fees, we're proposing they be to recover the actual costs of providing the service. We wanted our fee structure not to be out of line when compared to our comparables or our close proximity counties. And again, we're shooting for the cost recovery model. The next three slides basically just show the non-residential permit fees as well as residential, and I had illustrated a typical house, I believe was a 1,500 square foot house would change from. No, sir, but we can get copies if someone would like a copy. We did show a 1,500 square foot house, I believe, was going to change from about $300 in fees to about $600, and then for a 3,000 square foot house was going to go like from $600 to $1,200. And we also gave an illustration for the non-residential fees as well. These are jumping up pretty dramatically, but what we discovered was when we look at the comparable counties, and you might ask, well, what is a comparable county? Is Martin, is Jones, is Beaufort a comparable county? No, those are counties in close proximity. A comparable county is a county with the near same population, dollar of budget, appropriations to schools, and so on and so forth, number of employees. We want to try a close tax base as we may have. We use a number of factors to determine close proximity counties. The last area was solid waste. We're proposing to start charging $5 a scoop or a bucket for mulch. It would be about 3 yards of mulch. Again, this is just a minimal fee. We're trying to recoup the cost of equipment and time, staff time to actually load a truck with mulch. All right, in terms of a revenue review or highlights, this pie chart illustrates the revenues within all funds of Pitt County government within the $202 million overall budget picture. Within this, you can see ad valorem taxes represent 50%, a little greater than 50%. Next highest category is intergovernmental. Then we go to other taxes and sales and service, interest, miscellaneous, fund balance appropriation. In terms of within the general fund itself, the $100 million component of the $200 million budget, you can see that ad valorem taxes make up almost the lion's share of the general fund expenditures. Then the next highest would be other taxes, sales and service, miscellaneous, and so forth. Again, the ad valorem tax rate is proposed at 68 cents. Distribution to the general fund, the 0.673, and then 0.007 to the industrial development. This is a slight change from the distribution over current year that would be going to the industrial development. I think a slight decrease of, I think it was 200,000. We're basing our projected collection rate of taxes at 96.5%. This is based upon where we landed June 30th of 2011, and technically that is really all that we can, that's the maximum amount that we can set it at, unless we were doing better in current year, but we're still tracking about 96.5 to 97%. So based upon 96.5. We did see a value of the base. It decreased because of the effect of revaluation. We had a decrease of $243,533,448. That would have generated about $1.6 million in revenue under the existing tax structure of 66.5 cents. In terms of sales taxes, we continue to see limited growth in this area, as I have already mentioned. There's really no growth in the budget because basically we're seeing that the sales taxes are flat. ABC Board, we are proposing a distribution of $1.1 million, which is consistent with the current year distribution from the ABC Board, which they have met the first 3 quarters in the year and tell us they'll be on track for in the 4th quarter. Actually, they came before your meeting before last, and it illustrated they'd had the best 3rd quarter in a number of years, and I think their net sales were up some $438,000, I believe was the number. So we have left them at $1.1 million, even though they had indicated to us that they were proposing a distribution of $1 million. We have informed them that the county is still expecting a distribution of $1.1 million for the new year. In terms of expenditure review or highlights of expenditures, if I can get some technical help, my PowerPoint presentation is gone. It's frozen up on me.
reboot.
Yep. It's probably because it's too hot in here. It's rebooting on its own. I'll get you back to where you were once it reboots. It's probably because it's too hot in here. Yeah, it's quite warm in there.
Technical difficulties, and there's no way I can help anybody, so we'll just all have to sit here and be patient. And I can't sing either.
Scott, while we're waiting, when do I get a copy of that presentation?
Be happy.
With the fees.
After
Sure, we can get you a copy.
Would that be available for everyone here or just certain?
Sure.
That's your entire report then?
That's the PowerPoint presentation. The illustration you're asking about is probably still going to be the small print, but we can get you a large copy of that.
I want to, we're going to reboot. I'm going to turn this fan on, so you might need to speak.
That's fine.
I would imagine you just have to.
As we wait for the system to reboot, I would like to acknowledge the staff's work on this budget for fiscal year 12-13. Collectively with all the department heads who have worked as a team on this, as well as our finance staff. Melanie Bryan, the county's deputy county manager, chief financial officer, has been instrumental on this budget as well. I think the board is aware she's retiring in the next month, and just wanted to give her credit and for all the hard work, as well as her assistant Shelley Leach and who? Okay. And Denise Urban, I'm sorry, I just had a brain freeze, kind of like the computer. Yes.
There's going to be another one popping up next time to that. Click on there. Well, okay. For future reference, that's a shortcut right there. Budget presentation, go back up to. Is that where you were?
Thank you. Actually, it went back to the beginning. Went back to the beginning. It went back to the beginning. It says.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to expenditure review highlights. We're back on track. The pie chart before you gives you the expenditures for the general fund, all funds, for the $202 million overall budget. This compares to what I showed you on the revenue side, showing you categorically within a pie chart where the money is going within all funds within county government. You can see the largest proportionate share is going to education, which is one of the county commissioners' higher priorities. And then second, you have human services, you have public safety, general government, and then the balance of the breakout. This basically just gives you the dollar amount per fund, whether it's the general fund, again, the control fund for the ad valorem tax rate, the monies to public health, DSS, court facilities, mental health, debt service, solid waste, health insurance, fire and EMS, and then all other funds. Again, this represents a 2.6% reduction from the current year's budget. In terms of education funding for Pitt County Schools and Pitt Community College, based upon the data from the NCACC, which is the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, our school system ranks 41st out of 100 counties on a PPE basis, which is a per pupil equivalency amount of money. The funding request by Pitt County Schools in current expense was $34,126,142. The current expense for the rent in this facility, $340,000. Capital outlay, $750,000, for a total of $35,126,642. The recommendation is for current expense at $34,004,726. The current expense for rent, $340,000, $0 in capital outlay, which is where the majority of their reduction came from at the 2.5%, for a net of $34,344,726. This budget is in line with the 2.5% reduction that all departments were asked to identify and to take. It also precludes or avoids any negative impact to the low wealth funding stream that the school system receives from the state. In terms of current expense, education, this bar chart here illustrates, going back to 03-04, the county's total millions of dollars in appropriations to Pitt County schools, starting at the 26.3, and you can see that number grow through the years up to the high in 2010-11 to 34.6. Came down 100,000 last year, then about 200,000 this year in the overall rounded numbers. The next illustration gives you history of the per pupil expenditures in Pitt County, and you can see that we are, depending upon where we rank with the other 99 counties in North Carolina, we'll know our per pupil expenditure dollar amount, as well as our rank as a county in terms of where we will land in terms of our funding. Pitt Community College had a funding request of $4,759,597 for current expense, $75,000 for capital outlay, for a total of $4.8 million. I did state at the beginning that this budget has no expansion in it, and if there's any expansion dollars, indirectly, I guess it would be PCC, because they have opened or are in the process of opening 3 new facilities: the Facility Services Building, the Russell Academic Building, and the Construction Industrial Technology Building. These are all paid for by the quarter-cent sales tax that was voted in by the voters of Pitt County back in 2008. The quarter-cent sales tax, as directed by the resolution of the Board of Commissioners, only pays for the debt service on the facilities, but not for the ongoing operational costs such as lighting, heating, cooling, insurance, and custodial. The recommendation for PCC is $4,650,872. We did take 2.5% off the top of them. We took 2.5% off their capital outlay from $75,000 to $73,125 for an appropriation of $4,723,997. After we took the 2.5% off, we did then add back the amount that they needed to open the 3 facilities. Still represents a cut in their budget. They are getting a $410,616 increase, and that's directly attributed to those 3 new buildings, which statutorily is the responsibility of the Pitt County Board of Commissioners. Again, this is the only expansion of this budget, if you want to call it expansion. And the other points, again, quarter-cent by the voters. And the last point, even with all this construction at PCC, we still rank 58 out of 58 community colleges in North Carolina in terms of square footage per student. EMS fire funding. With EMS first on their budget consideration, you have a recommendation by the EMS Oversight Committee, and they're recommending a revenue neutral rate of 4.6 cents compared to an existing rate of 4.4 cents. The squads will have a maximum of $412,000 of funding per squad. This is consistent with fiscal year 11-12. This is for the directly attributed to the 8 nonprofit squads. The 2 county-run squads are higher than this because there is a benefits package that is paid to them because they're considered county employees. This does continue the implementation of the capital replacement plan, which has been very proactive and positive for EMS in terms of remounting ambulances and replacing them, as well as the deep fib program. EMS fund in the current year's budget, we have a total of $4,918,447. Proposed budget is a little bit higher at $5,183,743. Lives within its revenues of the revenue neutral tax rate. The next illustration basically gives you the breakout from what was requested for next year compared to what is recommended. There was actually $5,379,809 requested, but there are only being recommended to allocate $5,183,743, again living within the 4.6 cent adjusted tax rate. Within the fire fund, or actually the fire funds per se, you have the 20 volunteer fire departments, and you remember this year we went through a major transition to transition them from fire tax districts to fire service districts, basically allowing all properties within the district to be taxed for the service. There were 2 departments that were not being taxed prior, or didn't have a tax prior, Bethel and Belvoir. They now have a tax, and this will be for the first time. You have 13 departments of the 20 that are seeking a rate that is at or above the revenue neutral rate. This illustration here, again, we can provide this to anybody who would like to see it. This basically shows the requested rate, shows the value of the property within the district, the current rate, the proposed rate, the revenue neutral rate, the levy, and whether they're requesting a vehicle purchase for next year or not. Coming to the end here, in terms of a capital improvement plan, there's really no capital improvements for fiscal year 12-13 within this budget. We are in the process of completing several projects this year that will probably flow over into next year. The radio system upgrade to meet the FCC mandate, the compactor installation, which my understanding is that is should be complete and operational as we speak. The Chicago sewer project, which is ongoing as I speak, and we will bring forward to the board guaranteed energy savings for phase 2, which is basically improvements to county buildings in terms of HVAC, lighting, plumbing, and so forth, that the actual cost of those improvements are paid for on a guaranteed basis through the energy savings that result from that. The next table basically gives you the met needs within the budget. This is out of your CIP, the capital improvement plan, which the box column there for illustrating fiscal year 12-13 shows $1,130,125, which is within the proposed budget. The next table basically gives you the unmet needs within the county on different departments and requesting facilities or infrastructure type improvements. In terms of the look forward, and these are made upon the best estimates that we have at this time. These are remarks I made from back on the May 22nd workshop. The Workers' Comp Fund, we will need to do a mid-year review to make sure that we're on track with that. We have used a subsidy from the Health Fund because it had been doing so well for the past 2 years, but we're probably to the point where we can't do that anymore, and the Workers' Comp Fund will probably need to have more consideration from the General Fund. Public Health, for a number of years, they've been able to rely upon their fund balance, which is Medicaid restricted dollars. They've gotten down to the point where in the proposed year, 13-14, they will be appropriating the last portion of their restricted Medicaid dollars, and it will potentially create a $300,000 hole a year from now for the Public Health Department. The Employee Compensation Plan, in terms of whether a market adjustment is given based upon a cost of living adjustment based upon the CPI or any type of merit increases. There's obviously no money at this point in next year's budget. As we look to the following year, just keep in mind a 1% cost of living costs roughly about $400,000. And the last component, a rolling stock replacement plan for vehicles. We've had very limited replacement over the last 3 years. As the board is aware, we were able to do 12 vehicles yesterday using some freed up monies in the 911 fund, but that is pale in comparison to the actual overall need for vehicles. We have a pent-up demand for this, and this cost is recurring. This is really something that we should be budgeting for every year and not letting this demand become pent up. I do have for the board's consideration a new or proposed modification to the level 1 budget, I'd like to cover with you an alternate A and B. If the clerk will pass those out, please. In terms of alternate A and B, the first paragraph talks about the level 1 budget, and that's basically as you have it presented so far in this presentation. Level 1 budget is your 68-cent tax rate with $2 million infusion of fund balance to balance the budget, your decrease of the 40 positions, and everything I've said to date. Alternate A is a proposal in talking with the sheriff, trying to come to a compromise or an ability where we can feel good about what we're trying to adopt in terms of a service for the citizens of Pitt County, is a suggestion to look at the possibility of sharing at a 50-50 basis revenues above and beyond what he would generate for the fed bed inmate. As the board is aware, and I'll just cover for the public, we house federal inmates at the Pitt County Detention Center at our option because we earn revenue from it. That revenue, the base part of that revenue is used to pay the salaries of additional employees at the detention center, is used to pay the heating and cooling, is also used to pay a portion of debt service. Above and beyond the number of inmates we need per day at the daily per diem rate, the sheriff has been able to collect additional dollars. What I'm proposing and talking with him, and he's indicated that he would lend support to this alternative, would be at the end of the fiscal year to come back and to look at sharing these revenues 50-50, with 50% of the revenues remaining in the general fund and then 50% of the revenues being tagged only for expense on capital related items, and that being specifically vehicles. We talked about the June of 2013 as well as the June of 2012. June of 2013 was easy because that'll be a year from now, and the June of 2012 is more problematic because of where we're trying to land on our feet with a 12% fund balance which is what we have, but did tell him that I would entertain that if we were at 12% or greater, we could go back and look at this. I did point out to him as well that at mid-year, when we made budget reductions within all the different county departments, his department did bring some budget reductions in line with the 2.3% budget reduction we had, but he wasn't able to do all of that. So what we did was actually take credit for some of the additional revenue he brought into place. So instead of having a $2.5 million fed bed revenue target, we actually increased that to 2.9. So with that being said, it might be difficult that there would be additional revenue to consider for this for 2012, but in 2013 it could be considered. Alternate B, which is, we discussed this, but this is me talking here, not him, that he didn't lend support for this and as such. But looking back to one of the comments I made back at the initial budget presentation on May 22nd, in terms of looking at the concept of right-sizing the budget and the organization and trying to be structurally sound and to rebalance our budget, and we said that we're trying to create a base level organization. We're trying to, that for the future, we could only anticipate expansion only if it was accompanied by a revenue increase or a revenue source. It was mentioned yesterday that if we're looking at to expand this budget, it would only be logical if that was the will of the board, and this person wasn't saying that they were proposing this, but that it would be tied to a new revenue. Our motor fleet, I mentioned we've had pent-up demand. We had a 3-year plan we initiated 3 years ago. We met the first year. The economy started to fall in the second and third year. We couldn't continue implementing it. We have a need for vehicles. We have a pent-up need within the sheriff's office. We also have a pent-up need for vehicles throughout the balance of the county departments. What this alternate B would do would be to dedicate a 0.5 cent on the tax rate that would be dedicated annually for an annually reoccurring vehicle replacement plan for the vehicles in our motor fleet. Yes, that does take it from a flat 68-cent rate to a 68.5. I put that before you for your consideration, as well as the alternate A. And with that, Madam Chairman, the last slide is to open the scheduled public hearing for comments, and then if the board so willed tonight, if you were going to make consideration for any type of adoption, you could do that tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Elliott. I understand that there are some other people that have signed up. Would you bring that forward to us, or do you already have it? Okay, thank you. Just one thought on the alternate A and the alternate B. That is going to be discussed after the public hearing. So, for the commissioners to know that, if they want to, or make any other changes or whatever that we would like to do in the past. With that said, we will open our public hearing, and at our public hearing and our public address to the board, we have 3 minutes. We would appreciate, we have a lot of people signed up, so we want to give everybody an opportunity. So if you will try to limit your input to 3 minutes, that would be great. Thank you very much. And our manager will read off the people. And
Okay, first we have Pastor Rodney Coles.
Greetings to everyone here. My name is Pastor Coles. I'm with a ministry called Churches Outreach Network. First, I want to thank God for me being here this afternoon in One Dub. It's my first time here. My concern with the ministry, first I'm going to tell you who I am briefly, then I'm going to tell you who I represent. My name is, again, is with the ministry called Churches Outreach Network, and we is a ministry that is out here in the community. We use the GPAC station. We use the radio station here at WOW, as well as 1570 to get the message out here in the community. I have a senior citizen that I've been dealing with for a very long time, and I'm sadly to say that she had passed away yesterday. And I know that this is one of the stations that she used to watch all the time, the GPAC station. She was the main one who actually got me more involved in touching the hearts of the senior citizens. That's what my heart goes for, deepest for the senior citizens. And she's the one that she gave me a quote that she gave me once a while, and it says, "It's not who's right, it's not who's right, it's what's right." And I look at a GPEC station that I know in your budget you got to make cuts and many different things, but I'm really standing for what is right for the community, bringing the information out there. I also look at, we have Miss Mary Smith with Pet Resource Connection that bring a lot of resource to our community. And I just hope that this time here that you can try to hear my heart. I wrote some things out, and I said, you know what, I want them to hear my heart. I want them to know what I represent, what I do in the community to help in the community. And so I won't read that. So I decided for my little 3 minutes that I'm up here, as a pastor, we could preach a long time. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be kind of hard to get 3 minutes up, but I'm trying hard right now. But I truly want to say that I hope that, I look at the program, and I know that a lot of budget cuts. I heard the heart of Neil Epps last week, I believe it was on TV, speaking about the sheriffs and the cars. It's a shame that we have cars with over 100,000 miles. I think my 1988 wagon, I'll take a sheriff car, and that's a shame. And that we have people to protecting us. So I'm just here this evening, going through my heart and hoping that y'all can really look at the budgets and make some changes to help towards this community. That's where my heart is in this community. I've been here for now 8 years. I have not worked one job after I retired. I seem like I'd be working harder now since I retired than when I worked. But my whole heart is about the community and doing what's in the community. So I know my 3 minutes must be up, so I'm going to get off. But I just hope that y'all consider the budget for the GPAC. It's something that I believe is about a $16,000 budget. I'm quite sure we can find it. There's still buildings being built up here. It's kind of hard, so there ain't no money coming in here, and there's buildings being built up here. Thank you.
thank you. And our next.
Next we have Lee Darnell.
Good evening. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say I am a huge fan of aggressive budget control, and it appears that you're doing that. Thank you so much for those efforts. As a tax-paying citizen, that means a lot to me. However, at the same time, I think there are parts of this budget that simply are not workable for the citizens of this county. In this point, I'm referring to the sheriff. For the 3 minutes, I'm just going to focus on the vehicle issue. The revenue sharing option is a great start. I like to hear that, but again, I really don't see that as being enough. I understand they have many vehicles between 100,000, 150,000 plus miles. I'll tell you that is a danger to the officer. Even if they're maintained and repaired properly, they're not like any other vehicle in any other motor fleet, and that's a huge problem. It risks the officer's life. I would say that's comparable, if you look at death stats, comparable to facing a drunk criminal with a weapon. These officers are more likely to be killed driving a vehicle, and that's a crying shame when they're given vehicles of this caliber. It's also dangerous for the other drivers on the road, and it's dangerous for the citizens that call 911 and may very well be deceased by the time help gets there, despite the best efforts of this sheriff's office to improve quality. To give you an example that I think will sum this up nicely, I've been a law enforcement officer for 21 years in the western part of this state, including several years as a chief of police. I was a working chief, just like this sheriff, that I would come to work in a uniform every day and get out there and work the streets and do what it took for the community. One day I'm on patrol and I observe a suspicious vehicle that I was aware of there being some attached criminal activity. Activated the blue light and the siren, tried to stop the vehicle, and off it went. So here in my patrol car, 125,000 or so miles, very comparable to what these gentlemen are dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. I began my pursuit. Within a couple of minutes, a state trooper was behind me assisting. A couple of minutes, a deputy sheriff from that county was behind me assisting. And within a few miles of this pursuit, down a two-lane road very similar to Highway 33 out here, the state trooper pulls out and passes me. And I wave at him as he goes by. The deputy sheriff pulls out, passes me. I wave at him as he goes by. It's not because of my driving skills. I'm a dang good driver. It's because my vehicle had 125,000 miles on it. It was no longer safe to be operated as a law enforcement vehicle is designed to operate. That put my life in danger. That put those around me in danger. May I have just a few more seconds, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. If you don't mind a few more, we have a lot more
Very
people.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very kind. Anyway, I've spent a lifetime risking my life to help people, and that will continue until I'm put in the ground. However, I will not continue to risk my life due to political issues that hold back agencies like this. It's a crying shame, and it hurts me as a citizen. Whether it's taking contingency fund money and putting toward that or whatever it takes, please consider this issue. I think it's a lot more important than you realize. God bless you for your work. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Burnell.
Okay, next we have John Chick.
Good evening. I'm here to express my concern that a denied motion was not in the best interest of the citizens of Pitt County. This was a motion to allow approved funds for the Sheriff's Office for the training, ammo, as well as keeping excess funds generated by the Sheriff's Office to be used by the discretion of the Sheriff to provide necessary equipment and staffing. I have watched and replayed the last few meetings, and I am concerned with all the what-ifs you are allowing from the County Manager and the CFO. Again and again, it states that any excess revenue that the Sheriff's Office acquires is necessary to fund the shortcomings of other departments. The Sheriff's Office plays many roles, and we do this beyond what the statute states the responsibilities of the Sheriff's Office are. I am sure none of them state that we are supposed to fund departments that cannot meet their expectations. I have heard several statements that compare the workings of the Sheriff's Office to other departments, which is unfair to me, as well as departments we are compared to. Yes, I am not only a voting citizen of Pitt County, but I'm also a proud deputy sheriff that takes pride in helping the citizens of Pitt County as well as my fellow deputies. Your actions add to the statement that yes, this job is thankless. We wear many hats in this job. We are the front lines and backup for many departments such as social services. The social worker with the irate parent the CFO spoke about last week most likely had a deputy standing between them. With animal complaints, it's usually only after the deputy investigates a call, animal control is notified. If the person broke down on the road, we make sure that they're okay and help is given. We assist fire and rescue. There is areas in this county that rescue will not go unless there's a deputy present. Also, if there's any calls with violence to 911, the scene has to be secure before assistance is given. Let us not forget we provide a civil service as well, enforce the laws. I know for a fact the Sheriff's Office has cut so much we cannot stand anymore. We have even dissolved our SRT team because we can't afford it. If we have a major incident, we have to depend on another agency to provide this service. There are many other functions and items that have been cut also. I present this question to most of you. Do you really know what services the Sheriff's Office provides to your citizens? How many of you have spent a few shifts in communications, let alone spend the time with a deputy to see what you are actually cutting? With all that we have asked for is some of the excess revenue that the Pitt County Sheriff's Office has generated to buy ammunition for training or buy much-needed vehicles to protect the citizens that you work for that voted you in office. The Sheriff's Office or any other department should be able to keep the excess that is generated to spend on needed equipment or staff for the betterment of the community. This should not have any bearing on taxes for the citizens, as this is excess revenue above and beyond a projected budget. I live in District 3 and I hold my commissioner accountable. Thank you.
Next.
Next, we have Lawrence Whaley.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'm Lawrence Whaley. I'm the jail administrator for the Pitt County Sheriff's Department. I've been employed by the Pitt County Sheriff's Department for 29 years. I'd like to discuss the reduction in staff at the detention center and the safety and security concerns related to these reductions. Currently, we have 513 inmates, of which 89 are federal inmates. We have a 596-bed jail, and currently we have 500 of those beds currently open. Of the 500 beds, our operating capacity should be around 450 based on classification and other concerns we have. We are currently 63 over our operating capacity. In 2009 and 10, when we opened our new addition, which included the kitchen, the pre-booking area, and F block, staffing analysis done by hired services by the county stated we need 93 additional staff to operate this new building. Detention staff reduced that number to 67. This was a tax savings to the county payers of Pitt County. In 2011-12 budget, the detention center lost 14 positions and closed a 96-bed unit and is not currently in any plans to reopen anytime soon. Again, we are 63 over our operating capacity. In the 2012-13 budget, reduces our staff by 11 positions, creating concerns for the safety of our staff. This will also reduce availability for vacations, holidays, resulting in low morale of our staff. We currently have 23 inmates charged with murder and several others charged with violent crimes. We have increased our inmate count to include federal inmates, as well as taking on the transportation of federal inmates all over this state. As our population has increased, so has the number of violent actions in the jail towards our staff. Assaults such as being spit upon or fluids thrown on our officers has increased. We reduced the number of employees by 26 before opening this building. We have lost another 25 positions since then. This reduction in employees cannot continue if the citizens of Pitt County expect the safety and security of our staff and inmates to continue at its current level. As I am getting towards the end of my career, others have several years left in theirs. I ask you as a board to keep the safety and security of our officers a priority. Please do not continue to reduce the number of staff and increase the safety and security concerns for them and their family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whaley.
Okay, next we have Ann Shelton.
Good evening. I'm Ann Shelton with Pitt County Sheriff's Office, the Supervisor of Communications. take a moment to picture this workday in our lives as a telecommunicator. For 12 hours, we have 1 to 2 people in a room with 11 phone lines to answer and several radio channels. You are responsible for dispatching the closest deputy to a call. Calls come in at the same time, and the next phone line you answer is a hysterical parent that has just gotten home and sees their child has hanged himself. The next few things said and questions you ask this parent to get the pertinent information are very important to expressing your concern and compassion to the urgency of this person's needs. And in the meantime, the phone lines do not stop ringing, and you are still being called on the radio, and each one of these calls demand the same urgency in their specific needs at this time. Last year, the Pitt County Sheriff's Office Communications Center took well over 41,000 calls. Every one of these calls were taken by the 9 communicators that was staffed in 2011. We not only dispatched for the Sheriff's Office, we dispatched for Winterville, Grifton, Bethel, Fountain, Simpson, and Pitt Community College. However, the position cuts that we will be forced to do more with less. Due to us not being able to hire for the position that was vacated by an employee who has now gone part-time due to the stress of the workload. I am the extra person to work when someone is sick or the child is sick and can't go to school or daycare, or if they go on vacation or for any other reason they might need to take off. And as a supervisor, it makes it challenging to get my job done. And due to the fact that we are the first line of communications for the public to get assistance, it is very stressful for us to know that we may not be able to handle all the calls with the compassion and the time that is needed for these calls. Our communication center is a vital part of the Pitt County Sheriff's Office for the safety of the citizens, deputies, and officers while trying to maintain the efficiency of our communicators. Our communication center is manned at all times, 24 hours every day. We work days, nights, weekends, holidays, while everyone else is enjoying their families. We are essential personnel, so we have to come in when other county employees get to stay home. We have to travel in our own vehicles to work through the snow and flooded roads and in inclement weather conditions. Our hope is to maintain at least 2 communicators on duty at all times to relieve the stress of the one person working by themselves at any given time. For the safety of the citizens of Pitt County, the deputies and officers we dispatch for, and for the well-being of our communicators. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shelton.
Next, we have Tony Musin.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you. I'm a citizen of Pitt County, and unfortunately, I just lost 3 family members due to the shooting that took place in Hustle Mart in Farmville. I'm here to speak before you and to tell you how proud I am and my family and the community is of our sheriff and the great job they have done and the hard work and they done for catching the criminals within less than 48 hours. They were able to get these guys out of the streets, and I think the last thing we should do or consider is cutting back on the budget of the sheriffs. I know that those criminals have done the same crime prior in Princeville, and I feel like if Edgecombe County had the same resources or personnel, they would have caught those guys in a timely manner to where this would haven't had to happen. I believe that our sheriffs and deputies should be well equipped and well paid, and to be able to do their jobs, and to have their sufficient enough or being responsive as response time. I really can't express enough how much relief they brought to the family by catching these guys. I know they worked hard, but without the resource and having well equipment, they would have never get that job done. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Billy and Sandra Stinson.
Commissioners, Mr. Elliott, thank you for allowing us to speak. It's a great example of freedom of speech. We are Billy and Sandra Stinson, retired Rose High School teachers with over a half a century of experience between us. We currently produce a show on the public access channel 23 called Folk Scene, a weekly show of singing, talking, interview, and highlighting other musicians in the area. Recently, we began a Folk Scene Sunday during which we are able to share more songs and dialogue with a more spiritual content. We rarely get involved in issues that are political in nature. We've mainly concerned ourselves with self-expression through teaching, singing, art form, and relationships. Pitt County and Greenville are rich and fertile environments in which these kinds of things can happen.
Freedom of speech and self-expression are important to the health of individuals as well as to the community in which they exist. To be able to say something without censorship is indeed rare. Public Access Channel 23 allows just this. Beyond its informational uses, this channel provides a vehicle for any individual to share his or her ideas and creative forms of expressions. It is fresh air. It is lifeblood flowing through the veins of the community. It is a place void of criticism, recrimination, and censorship. Where else does such an atmosphere exist?
We are aware that the public access channel does not produce revenue and cannot sustain itself by selling ads and commercials. It exists as a public service, more in the subjective and personal realm, kind of like art. But taking art away leaves a dry, biased, impersonal, and lifeless condition. We think removing funds from the support of GPAT TV could lead to the same thing.
It's always easier to get rid of something than to gain it back. We feel the loss of revenue to this station could be the beginning of the end, unless perhaps alternate strategies be considered, such as matching funds from the county. Channel 23 raises money, the county matches it.
Freedom to speak has always been the backbone and lifeblood of this great land. When this is gone, we're nothing more than lifeless shadows beyond the door. To seek the Lord, pray and kneel, to express the things you feel. We have come here to appeal. Public access TV is real.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next.
And next, Dave Roebuck.
And I wouldn't want to follow that, Mr. Roebuck, if I was you.
Well, coming up here, I'm kind of off the beaten path from what everybody's been on. Sheriff Phelps knows that I support him and our community does through our programs as a community watch commander. But I come up with another request tonight. As most of you know, we have a proposal up for 20 departments in a service district instead of a fire district. For whatever reason, it's come to my attention we've had opposition for our department. That would leave us sitting out without anything except what we use with our fundraisers, which our guys give 100% for, and the community as well. Our request of 0.0189% is the lowest in the county of all fire departments. It will bring us a revenue of $21,206 in to add to our budget to use without taking out of our capital reserve and doing away with what we have put back that we might need for a truck or something of that nature. Like I said, most of our funds come from our fundraising events. We've done real good with that, but we still have some needs that are unmet. One being air packs that I myself, our guys that are firefighters, our chief, are using that are 10 to 20 years old. Just to replace those alone, the 18 or so that need to be replaced, will cost us right around $90,000. It's just astronomical what this equipment costs. If we need to replace a pump or a tanker, it's $200,000 for a basic unit. We hold a reserve balance to carry us through 1 year of operations in case our main fundraising is unsuccessful. As most of you know, Bethel has always had an auction just like ours, but this past year it went belly up for them. They decided they were not going to be able to do it anymore. They had a snowstorm. We could have the same thing. We could have a bad rain in the month of March and not have any attendance. We've got a great group of people that come out there and help us. We have existed through what grants we can get and are always in search of other grants. We've had John Tugwell, who has really given a lot of time and dedication to help us with this for the last 29 years. For that, we're grateful. We're also grateful for the community and Mr. James's help that he has given to us prior, and hope he continues to help us. Mr. James stated, as I said to you guys just a couple weeks ago, that the reason we wanted to levy this levy was to build an addition to our department. This addition was approved 2 years ago by our board of directors.
Okay.
Can I have just a little bit and I'll make it quick?
Please. Thank you.
We've just had it approved to go ahead and start building through matching funds that we got from the state grant. I'll wrap it up real quick by saying I had the same insurance company that writes our policies for our department to cover our building, trucks, and everything. She came up with 2 scenarios and that houses that were valued in our district, one being of $190,000. We're at a 9R, as Mr. Garrett stated just a few weeks ago. Winterville was able to get theirs down to a 6R. I asked her just to do me a 7R rating. For a 9R rating, insurance premium of 1 year was $1,353. If we have the funds to get our equipment to where it needs to be, to get the rating down to a 7, that will lower their insurance rate to $1,043, giving them a savings of $308. So are we taxing them that $35.91 that they would be paying that they haven't paid, or are we putting the savings back in their pocket of $272 for that year? That's what we need to look at, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Roebuck.
Okay, next we have Nancy Colville.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Nancy Colville. I reside in Greenville, have been paying taxes, property taxes for 45 years, and have been coming to meetings here since the 80s. So I am familiar with the budgets and the problems. I don't want to be in your shoes tonight. However, I do want to strongly support Sheriff Elks. To me, as much as I support education, the safety and welfare of all the citizens of this county need to take priority over the school funding that we have been doing. The schools in Pitt County are great. They have good facilities. They have great teachers. And you know, we unfortunately, the teachers are handicapped, and I have seen this. I had 3 children graduate from Rose High. They're handicapped by political agendas, lack of parental supervision, allegations of discrimination by some, teachers hired for their own reasons, and an oversight of the school board. Now, these things you cannot fix with money. You can continue to go, we can go broke. We can do away with the sheriff department and the health department and social service, and nothing will change until these things change, and they are beyond your control. And it's not about money. So I would suggest to you that you focus more on the sheriff department, the health department, and social service. This is where the great need is today. The school board is sitting on $4.5 million balance. They don't need that. If they default on anything, this board has to pay for it. The county has to pay for it. So please consider that. I'm sorry, but you know, I just fair is fair. When they were talking about the jail, I recall when that jail detention center was built. That detention center takes more manpower to operate than all the other detention centers in the state, I was told, because the people the architects were paid by the square foot. And at the last minute, they built a gymnasium that was never used. May I finish?
If you can do it very quickly,
right.
Ms. Coble, thank you.
I support, on the protest, support the increase in the tax rate because it's needed. But please make sure that it goes to the right places. To me, the sheriff, the health department, these things, we cannot continue to support outside agencies. All of them have good things, but we just cannot afford it all unless our tax rate goes sky high. And then you're going to be hurting innocent people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Frank Schenk.
Hello, I am Frank Schenk. I've been involved with public television for 20 years. I was chairman of the Greenville Cable Commission, and I am very pleased to meet in front of you again. And welcome back, Commissioner Hammond. I'm glad to see him here because I'm sure he would have been a second to Commissioner McLaughlin's motion to follow up on the PEG channel funding. I think that the basic problem is not many people understand what PEG channels are. They're well defined in federal statutes. They are public access channels, educational channels, and governmental channels. You run a wonderful governmental channel here. Kiara's doing a fine job. We have a great one in Greenville with Steve Hawley. But not many people realize that the public access channel is a freedom of speech channel, that it is community TV. It's designed to build community. Anybody who wants to can speak, and they can speak for more than 3 minutes. And, thank you. And so I want to make that point. I want to tell you that I'm speaking for myself and not for GPAD, although I am the vice chairman of GPAD. And I want to point out to you that right now the state provides money from the cable companies and the satellite companies' taxes. Pitt County receives $381,000. Greenville receives $912,000. There's $1,300,000 there. Give us that $3,500 that Commissioner McLaughlin wanted to add back into the budget. I thank you very much, and it's good to see all of you. In 2 days, I will be 90. So probably the last time you'll see me, although I got my license. I got my license renewed yesterday, and it's good until I'm 95, so I'll probably be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shanks. And next.
Next, we have Ray Smith.
Madam Chairman and Board, good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it very much. And I just want to let you know that I respect y'all as y'all have tough decisions to make and a lot of people to make happy. I just wanted to speak on the behalf of some guys I work with. Forgive me if I'm nervous. I'm not good with preparing a letter and looking down the whole time. I want to look at you to your face while we talk to you. I'm Ray Smith. I'm a Pitt County native. Been here my whole life. I'm now a property owner. I pay taxes. In addition, I work for the sheriff and have been there going on 12 years. I'm very proud of what I do. I take pride of working for Pitt County, and I want to be a leader for our county and represent us well from other counties in the state. I guess the one point or consideration I want to get across to y'all tonight is when you're making your budget decisions, please remember that we are an emergency service. The guys I work with, that when I leave here, I'm going to go to work tonight, and I work with them tonight till 6 in the morning. We provide an emergency service, and when all other services that the county provide fail, we have got to go in. And we have got to come with a solution, and people are going to expect us to have a solution to their problem. And when they call, we can't go back to the office and sit there for 30 minutes and debate about what we need to do. We got to go immediately and handle it. With that being said, we need the equipment and the training to be able to do that. I know I have called law enforcement in the past. I'm sure y'all have, and we all expect the law enforcement officer to show up, to know what he's doing. He has the power to arrest us and take us to jail and take our freedoms away. I want him to have the training and the equipment to make the right decisions. And just in the future, when you got to make budget decisions, please be aware that there's a group of guys I work with that are very dedicated to what they do and put a lot of sacrifices on the line every night to keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Next, we have Javier Costello.
Buenas noches. Don't worry, I won't speak Spanish. But the public access channel allows me to do that. And with Frank Schenk, we go a long way. I also serve as chair of the Cable Commission for the city advisory. And he and I were instrumental, Frank, to bring the public access channel when it got shut down because at that time, it was considered what was shown on the channel. Some people didn't like it. And the channel was at Pitt Community College. It was election year. You know what happened? Boop, the switch went off. The city didn't want to hear from us, but we fought. We were even accused that we were opening a Pandora box. The cable company said that we were showing, X-rated material. And I said to the cable company, hey, what about HBO, Cinemax, and Showtime? Don't give me that. But the point is, we're operating on a very lean budget. We don't have any excess vacant position that we can eliminate. Basically, your money that you're giving us represents 20-some% of our budget. But those $16,000 only represent 0.0008% of your total budget. And we can talk, I'm on the board, I'm also a producer. I bring different programs. I bring Fountain on the spot at RA Fountain showing music. I do talk shows myself. I talk politics. I talk in Spanish too. And people can understand what's going on, and we don't have the problem of what we're saying as long as we are with the FCC rules. And we're giving this to the community. Look at all the churches that benefit on Wednesdays on the channel. Most of them are in the county. not even in the city. So they benefit. And just to information, how many people here, please raise your hand or stand up, are for the GPAT tonight? Thank you. You can see that community involved, people we produce, we couldn't have everybody here. But we're asking you to consider that because this is a voice. I started many years ago with the city council. Hey guys, you want to be on TV when you're running for office? And lo and behold, they picked up several, the very first time, maybe 1 or 2 city council members used the channel. Now every politician in the state that is running for office can use that. And at the local level, all of you, how much does 30 minutes on TV cost if you had to pay when you're running for office? Think about that. And on the public access channel, you run those programs not one time. Jake put that program rolling, and you can be seen at 2 in the morning, at 12 in the afternoon. It's an advantage for everybody, and we're trying to educate. I appreciate and ask you to please consider 0.0008% of your budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costello.
Next, we have Pastor Blackman.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am Pastor Blackman, and I do be on GPAC on Wednesdays and Sunday mornings, and 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And the message has really been getting out because I get all the calls from the homebound people. A lot of people are homebound, cannot get to church. So I said, turn on the TV, watch the program that my husband and I give. Deacon Blackman, he's sitting back there. He don't like to get up front, but I will talk. I'll talk for him and myself because we are here to help people. We are not here to harm anyone. And we thank God for GPAC because it has let us got a lot of messages out. A lot of people have called me for prayer. I have led people to Christ. So I thank God for that station because a lot of people cannot get out to go to church. A lot of people will not go to church. But we thank God for how he let us come in there with our programs and make sure they are heard. And I thank God for Neil because he is doing a fine job. And I hope and pray that he will continue with his staff. I love everybody myself. And I love to see you be able to support everybody. I came down here from Pennsylvania. I have a transportation service, and I was here 2 years. I had to close it down on Friday because I didn't get enough work to keep it open. But I don't want that to happen with GPAC because I'm there to train people how to live, how to love one another. God bless you.
Thank you.
Pastor Jones.
First off, I'd like to thank y'all for the opportunity to stand before you and give you my opinion. I know several of you, and I know you're fine people. I've engineered with Christian radio and been in electronics all of my life. And in talking with the personnel at GPAT, they don't have money. If they have a piece of equipment to go down, they don't have money to replace it. And I'll be honest with you, I've got friends at Channel 9 and Channel 7. I know Gary Dean. I know a lot of prominent people because I've been in it a lot of years behind the scenes. And GPAT is doing what they're supposed to be doing because radio stations and TV stations are licensed with the public interest in mind. But yet, I don't mind telling you, I'm a pirate. I love the purple tie here because I'm a pirate. We never miss a pirate game. I mean, I go to Mississippi to see the football team play when they used to get beat. But the bottom line is, Jake is doing a wonderful job and his staff to get the word out. They have programming that's educational. It's a means for the citizens to interact with the local government. And I would like to see the funding continue. I only found out about this about 2 days ago, and I've got close to 90 signatures of people that would like to see the funding continued for public access TV. And I'll be glad to hand them over to whoever. And most of the people have put their phone numbers. And I have to agree with the lady that come up before me. I can talk pretty fast in 3 minutes. The bottom line is, these people, a lot of these elderly people, they depend on GPAD. I mean, that's their life. They're shut in. And they, of course, it would be devastating to some of these people to see this have to go off. And they operate on such a small budget anyway. So I would ask you to reconsider funding for GPAD. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Jones.
Is someone I can give this?
Or you can hand it to the clerk if you would like to.
Next, we have Sheriff Neil Elks.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to take my time to talk about a few things I think may have been misunderstood or maybe received wrong. When I came on and gave my presentation the other day, I was led to believe that maybe I came on too forceful or too strong. I would like to think that I came on as a sheriff that had a great passion for the citizens of Pitt County. I, for one, do not want to see taxes raised in Pitt County. So last year we were up for the challenge of what can we do? And you've heard this story, but I'm going to say it again. So we went out and aggressively went after the federal inmates. We were on track to raise over $1 million. And that's equal to 1 penny property tax increase. And the only thing we wanted was $200,000 of that $1 million to buy cars with. And the whole time we were told no. I'm the sheriff of this county. I have a great responsibility. I'm the chief law enforcement for all citizens of Pitt County. Public safety, people look to me for public safety. Not just the school-age kids, not the senior citizens, not the working force, but all people in Pitt County look to me for public safety. At any given time, my phone may ring. A loved one's been shot and killed. A store's been robbed. Somebody's drowned. We have to provide that service. And I heard my dear friend Tony back here speak about the homicide in Farmville. And it brought back memories of that day that I walked into his house and saw the loved ones sitting there with hurt on their face, tears coming out of eyes, a mother crying, 3 family members brutally murdered. At that point in time, I didn't care what it cost. We were going to hit the ground running, we were going to solve that case, and we were going to bring closure, because the people rely on us to do that. And that's things we have to do. And again, I want the people of Pitt County to know I'm very compassionate about what I'm doing. I'm not trying to be hard. I'm not the enemy. I never come for this board to ask for something that I don't need. I think I've come once since I've with the last budget. You gave me the budget last year. I dealt with it. I made it work. We went into positive. We met our numbers. We had money left over. We willingly gave back. And the only thing I want to do is give me the tools that I need and the money and the opportunity to serve the citizens. You know, we talk about school, we talk about this, but I'm the sheriff of all that. The schools, the working force, the senior citizens, they look for me and they elected me to provide that service. And again, I'm not the enemy. And I hear we talk about fund balance, we talk about borrowing rates, how important that is. But where do we put a price tag on public safety, a life, a citizens of Pitt County's life? How can I stand over that mother, over that body, and go home and tell that mother that her child has been killed? Heaven forbid the day I have to go before a employee's wife or a husband and tell them that their loved one's been killed in a car wreck because we did not provide them with the equipment they needed to respond to. I encourage you guys to come out and ride with my deputies any night. One of you guys did that years ago and it made a great impression on you. Come out and see what my guys go up to. See what it's like when they tell you to grab that seatbelt and pull it tight because you're getting ready to go for a ride. And ride for 25 miles across the county with the blue lights flashing and wondering about that deer running out in front of you, that car running out in front of you. I know my time's up, but thank you for your time. And seriously, I don't want to be considered as the enemy. I want to be considered as a sheriff that really cares about the citizens of Pitt County. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Who's next? Oh, Lord Jesus.
The last name we have signed up tonight on the formal list is Susan Taylor.
I'm Susan Taylor, lifetime Pitt County member, and been living here, work here, my whole family's here, and I brought the paper with me today, or a friend of mine brought it today, and my question is, we see all the wonderful things that the sheriff has done, that there's 5 people that's going to be seeking the death penalty, 98 people were picked up because they did not pay their child support, and what's on the bottom, but the commissioners reject proposal for sheriff's budget. And the bad thing is, everybody's going to see this newspaper, and I'm going to tell you, it's not going to look bad on him. If he made promises that he can't keep, it's not on him. It's going to be on y'all. And each one of your names that voted against this proposal, your name is listed here. And I'm just saying that as a concerned citizen, I think this looks bad on our community. I'm the office manager for an electrical contractor. How's that going to look with people trying to get new industries to come in and say, well, that sheriff's doing good, but ho, he may not even have enough ammunition to do his job. I just would like for y'all to reconsider and just know that I believe that the sheriff has the best interest of the community at heart. We're all interested about crime. It's a big issue with everybody. If you look at the newspaper every week, it affects all of us. Give him the tools that he needs to do the job that he said he was going to do. Like I said, y'all are on the chopping block. It'll be y'all. Your names are in the paper for everybody to see. Thank you.
Do I? Okay. If there was anyone who came in late that didn't have an opportunity to sign up, yes, sir. If you would come forward, please, and identify yourself and tell us where you live.
I'm so glad that happened. My name is Michael Adams, Pastor Michael Adams. I work with WOW radio station. But I came today because I'm also a person that works with the GPAT TV station. And in everything that was going on and people were talking, it was something that occurred to me. Even though I'm there as a minister to get out the message, there are other services that GPAT provides also, and that's information. One thing that I'm aware of today after learning where I work at is public service. And the city manager did a very, county manager did a very fine job of saying everything that the budget is going for, but it lacked personality to me. You know, it's like the monies are going here and there, and nowhere in there it seemed to say anything about what's going to touch the heart of people. Money is something you can get every day. You can always make money, but you can't create new hearts and new minds. And that's what this station is all about. It's about creating educational facilities. It's about creating will and determination in people to do better in life. And one thing I would like you to consider, when I was looking at the scheduling, it's not just religious things that happen there, but they give information about crisis analysis, you know, information concerning pregnancy, you know, things that are common to everybody. It's a list of shows there that not only just for entertainment, but some people sit back and want to know what does it mean when someone is an adolescent that need help, to get that kind of information because of this station. And to take it away from them, from us, would be a very disservice. Look at that one thing, public service. That's what we're about, to help the public. And if the public is generated to do better things, it'll be better as a whole. People be glad to go to work because they feel good about it, not because they're just working for money. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And I saw Did I see another hand over here? If you'll come up and identify yourself, please, and where you live. Oh, good. Thank you.
I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak to you all. I'm Pastor Gail Shiver. I am a citizen of Pitt County and also the host of the King's Table Television Broadcast Ministry at GPAC. And I just came to concur with many of those who have gone before me to say that I urge you to reconsider cutting the budget where it concerns this channel. This channel, when I think of it, I think of a resource, community resource. Although I provide a spiritual service, GPAC has provided, in fact, many of you, that's the way I met you, through GPAC. I've never met you personally, but I've seen your faces on GPAC and got to know who you were and what you were about as far as this county is concerned. So I urge you to reconsider cutting the budget where this channel is concerned, and because the service I provide is about touching hearts, is about changing minds and renewing the minds of those who are lost and hurting in this community. Although I came to speak mainly about GPAC as I was sitting there, I was also urged to speak on what was going on with the Sheriff's Department. I too, 22 years ago, my law enforcement career ended after being hurt in the line of duty after a 10-year career. And I do understand the importance of training and adequate equipment for your law enforcement people. So I also urge you to reconsider the budget where that is concerned as well. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. If one of you will come forward, and then the next one, identify yourself, please, and where you live will be appreciated. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. I was a little sad back there because I thought I wouldn't have the chance to say anything, but I'm going to make it very short. We do have a ministry on the TV, GPAC TV 23. It's called Mind to Mind TV broadcast, and I just want to say this a little bit, and we're going to sit down. There is a program that I watch very often, and it's Mary Smith has it. And there is a lot of informative messages that she give out on that program. And the reason why I'm bringing out her program is because I am a former battered wife, and I am also a certified volunteer at the Real Crisis Center. And that is one of the programs that she shows on her TV broadcast. And if I'm asking you today to please reconsider the budget. Please reconsider it, because there are a lot of battered women out here, and without the information that she shows on that channel, then it's impossible really for a lot of people to find out about what's going on, except you continue this broadcast. There's a lot of abused women going through domestic violence. I'm one of the ones that went through that. And there's information up there about shelters and the Real Crisis Center and such as that. But I'm just here to say just that little bit, to please reconsider, continue to let GPAC stay on that TV. Women are hurting. I also have a women's ministry that I work with battered women. And there's a lot of information that goes through that channel that's very necessary for women as well as men, but women that I'm talking about right now that they need to hear about. And we do have a Mind to Mind TV broadcast, and Mr. Jake Postma does, he graciously plays our programs on that channel. So we're asking you today to please reconsider, and thank you so much.
Okay, I need your names. We need that for the records,
Okay,
and you forgot to say.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm Pastor Rosemary Vines.
And I'm Pastor Charlie Vines.
Okay, thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you so much.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dee Dee Carney. I'm a local realtor in town and have been for almost 30 years now. I think I'm one of those elderly people that depends on GPAC TV. But I just wanted to let you know that there are a lot of people of all ages that depend on GPAC TV. And as the speaker before me mentioned, I think of GPAT as a community connector. It is the only community-focused television station, public television station that we have. And I actually use it as one of the best kept secrets in Pitt County to inform newcomers to the community about all the wonderful resources we have. Mary Smith and the PRC Connection is a wonderful resource to just let people know how to find different nonprofits in town and what they do. The candidates forum, the candidates interviews are very enlightening when we have newcomers that come in or old timers that have been here and don't know exactly what a person is running on, what their record is, and what they've done in their lifetime. We have arts and culture on there. You've got a little display of that tonight too. So it is a a variety of programs that are presented there. They do a lot for this community. I think except for Pitt Community College, it's probably one of the best resources we have, and I just ask your support for the station. And we just want to thank you as a board member. I started there as past president of League of Women Voters in that regard, and I just really want to thank you, first of all, for your support throughout the years, the county and the city, because without your support, we would not have existed. We've done a lot with a very little bit of resources. I remember my first board meeting, I almost thought the budget was a joke. It was so small. You know, I'm in civic clubs that have bigger budgets. So, you know, I think Jake, as our primary staff person for years and years, and as our only staff person for many, many years, has done a wonderful job of keeping the station together and, you know, just keeping everything well focused on the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Didi.
How are y'all doing? My name is Suzanne Creech. And I want y'all to understand that this is a topic that I'm extremely passionate about because I am a former law enforcement officer. The sheriff is not asking for any money extra from the budget. He's simply asking for money that he has earned extra. Why would he not be allowed to keep money to provide vehicles to get to a situation that one of y'all might be on the receiving end of one day? It may be your daughter that's out there that's been raped that needs help. It may be your property that's been stolen that you want back and want to find out who stole it. If they don't have the vehicles available to get there or the resources to find out who did it, who do you think is going to do it? Do you know how to do it? Do you know how to find the people that stole that person's property? Would y'all have had the resources to find the people that killed those family members? This sheriff goes out there and he works day in and day out along with these deputies. He's not sitting in the office making executive decisions. He's out there and he knows exactly what's happened. These are funds that he earned. Y'all are not entitled to these funds. These people that are up there and have overspent in their departments, why is it the county's responsibility of the sheriff to bail them out? The sheriff doesn't have a bailout program. We need to be supportive of our sheriff because if y'all ever need someone to call upon, he's going to be there. So keep that in mind when you have that budget decision, or keep that in mind when you need to make that 911 call and the communicators can't answer your call because they're helping someone else. Don't make a decision based on something you don't know about. Get out there and ride in those cars. Get out there and spend the time in 911 Communication Center and then make an educated decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'd like to thank all of the citizens who came forward tonight to our budget public hearing. And at this time, we will close the public hearing and we will open up items for discussion and decision from the board. We need some direction. Would you like for us to go around and give everybody an opportunity to speak? Well, excuse me?
Can we take a couple minutes break?
Oh, yeah, that would be fine. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
and then we'll reconvene.